Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. Yesterday I had therapy, and while I had therapy, I was drinking, which I've never done before. And it was weird because I could be myself. Like, I didn't feel the need to hide anything. And I was able to talk about my problems easier without feeling pressure to change my situation. On my own. I started the NAMI courses. I started one, which was really helpful because it's like the opposite of AA. It's like where you really deal with your mental health, not labeling it with an addiction, or because I was never, a long time ago, I was never like a drunk or anything like that. I would go out and I would hang out with my friends, and I've become antisocial and agoraphobic over the years, which is so fucked up. And for somebody to constantly say that you have, like, push you through AA and push you through those mental health places where it's like you get more and more isolated and you start to look at yourself like, oh, I'm a weirdo. Nobody's ever going to want to hang out with me again. I don't know what happened, honestly, over the years. I know that it started after I got back from AmeriCorps. I quit 6 months in because something didn't feel right. It was that simple. Something didn't feel right. I didn't know what I was doing. I could say that. I was like, it felt like a sales job when in like I was kind of pressured to get them money, the nonprofit, and it just seemed like the opposite of what I was trying to do, which was more like help them do that themselves. You know what I mean? So I got a resource development certificate, which is the opposite of getting money for a nonprofit. Things, like shampoo for a homeless shelter, stuff like that, instead of $7,000 that goes in the pocket of the driver that drops people off at a Greyhound station and says, good luck. Instead, you would do resource development, which is calling for donations from companies and stuff like that. And I did get that opportunity, and it felt like I was more pushed into, well, here's the phone book. Call all these places and try to get us money. And I was just kind of grossed out by it. So I quit right after I got my certificate. I was like, I'm gonna figure this out. Like, how do nonprofits work, and how are you alleviating poverty? Because that was the goal. Alleviating poverty, not keeping the fat cats rich where 200 people would suffer because somebody's greedy. Like, it would mean independence. And so when I was homeless, I went through those like processes of the shelters, and a lot of them were different. Some of them were bad, like they would push Jesus on you, and force you to go to church and stuff like that. It was like the opposite of independence. Kind of broke you down, which for me, it didn't affect me like that. I was stronger than that. So I had a little bit of money and I went to DC to stay in a shelter there. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just going. And I took a leap of faith. And I was proud of myself for doing that because I had so many negative ideas about it, about that place and the politics and the whatever goes on. But when I got there, I was really excited. I was scared before I got there. But when I got there, it was like a fresh mentality for me. I felt like I did when I used to visit New York. When I had a job and, you know, that independence. There's nobody saying Jesus loves you and if you do it this way and stop all of these things that you do, like going to nightclubs or hugging up with guys, or I mean, some of that's bad. Some things do need to change. So I had to change those things. And anyways, I have reasonable fears now because of what would happen when I go out. And it just ruined my my sense of safety. The thing about being in DC, nobody knew me. I wasn't forced to be like nice to anybody, you know. So I was in the shelter for several months, exploring DC, going to every museum, reading, walking a lot, and just eating food like systematically, like 3 meals a day. And I was so tired. I was exhausted. The lady was like, you can stay here as long as you want. And I couldn't because it was exhausting. So I got a job and took off. And then ended up in LA where things were a mess. Like, it was bad. I was like thinking it would be like New York, a plethora of job opportunities, and because there's so much money there. But it was the opposite. It was just like vultures everywhere going for that money, and I got all kinds of screwed up. I was out of my mind. I did the best I could, but I had to leave. I would never go back. Never. I'd go back to New York, but I'd never go back to LA. It was so dirty. Washington, D.C. is pretty clean. I'd go back there on vacation, see the museums. That's what I do at some point in my life again. Yeah. It'd be weird. So that's 10 minutes. gonna do today? I'm drinking coffee. I have books I've been reading. Probably gonna cook some food. I don't know what I'm gonna do. The people I was around when I was homeless were very controlling and didn't see me as a person. It was good to get away from them. It was really good. DC wasn't like that. They weren't controlling. They let me do my own thing. It wasn't like I was a nuisance. It was like, here's your bed, keep your stuff here, figure out your life. You're not dumb. You can handle it. You've done it before. This is what happens to a lot of people. Just figure it out. And I did. I was on my own. I met some weird people. Homeless life is like, what are you running from? A lot of people are running from something. But I didn't stay in touch with anybody. I met this one woman that would go to the museums with me. And we would argue. I think it was like family. You know how you just like push each other's buttons when your life is screwed up. It's like you need somebody to blame. We didn't do that, but it was more like we were always testy with each other. But she was always there, and I thought she was hilarious. Just her ego was still big, even though like the situation was horrible. And it gave me, I just remember sitting down with her in the mornings in the train station, charging our phones and just talking, you know. It was so nice. And then we go to museums and like, 4 or 5 hours later, you're exhausted and you're testy. So we'd argue about, I don't even know. And then we'd go get some food and feel better. I just remember like, I have this good memory of, I would walk a lot. I mean, really like insane. New York, you walk a lot too. What's different in DC? I just remember seeing her like way ahead of me walking back to the shelter. It's like she's always there, you know, dealing with her own shit. And it's just a good memory because I wasn't the only one that had to figure out so much stuff on my own, and not because you get very cautious, very protective. Like, you're not going to make this worse for me. I'm not going to befriend somebody that's a criminal or got some type of condition, or I'm not making this worse for myself. So you get very protective. I made friends with this other girl that was what I would say controlling, like telling me what to do, and you figure out your own life, I'll figure out mine. That was the whole point for me, to get away from people that wanted to control my life. people that thought they knew what was best for me, thought they knew what would make me happy. Doing things somebody's way all the time and just losing yourself in the process. I fought back against that when I went to art school. I was like myself. I could be me. And I was safe. So I always look back at that time and try to get back to a place like that. I wonder what would happen if I stayed. I only stayed for a year. I wonder what would have happened if I finished, got a job. I don't see how that would have happened. I mean, the school is kind of a scam. I mean, I just kind of knew, so I left. Drawing naked women, like, really? I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyways, it was called Digital Media Art School. Media? I don't know. I knew I wanted to get out of my situation, wanted to move on, wanted to try something different. So it was graphic design and fine art. And then I think about going to New York and ending up in what people in the neighborhood thought was a brothel. So I think one thing led me to another, and I got stuck. I lost my job. I was scared. I was working for a real estate place, making no money, where they wanted me to put my phone number on Craigslist and meet people in apartments. Red flags. I found the apartment I was in on Craigslist. I found bad jobs on Craigslist before. Bad jobs. Out of desperation, wanting to earn a living, accepting jobs that I should have never been in. I was more than willing to get away from that. And that was when I joined AmeriCorps. Made my own decisions about learning about umbrella organizations, stuff like that. And some jobs are like a cover for other things, and the scariness of that, the facts of that. God, the more I learned about it, it's horrifying. And how stupid and naive I was to think, oh, this will be fine. No, time to move on. So, when I was in the hospital one time, I tried to write down how I felt, and I was like, hold on, let me write this down before I just spew a bunch of nonsense and you call me like a paranoid whatever. And they wouldn't listen. She was like, I'm not gonna play this game with you. I was like, I'm not playing a game. My mental health is fucked up, and I want to write down why instead of here's your pills, good luck. I was really angry. So I read that when I just never want to go back there again. It's like they said, doesn't appear to be in distress, which was bullshit. I was in distress. I was a mess. If you looked at my life prior, I had, jobs, I had friends, I had clean clothes, like I had food. I didn't have any issues, and then I turn into this bum, like doesn't appear to be in distress. How do you figure this is normal? This is okay for a woman that's got a couple college credits, not dumb, not crazy, not a liar, not a criminal. And then I turned into a criminal without even thinking. I went to jail for something I didn't do because I was so out of my mind, acting weird, acting fucking weird, like feeling like I had to protect somebody from something bad. And it was true in my mind, and it still is. I don't regret it. I drew attention to something that was scary in my life. So when people didn't want to listen to that, I got sick. When people act like life is all sunshine and roses, all I gotta do is do the right thing. That delusional thinking. And then you're calling me delusional. It's like, no, you're the one that's fucking delusional. I was aware. I was aware of human trafficking. I was aware of umbrella organizations. I was aware of the people I'd met that were bad people, that I would not recommend anyone even communicating with. I was paranoid. I was very paranoid. For a reason. Things I'm not going to share with the world. I'll share it with the right people that believe me. I'm sick over it. I'm sad. I'm sad that people don't have empathy for those that are in a bad situation. Can't put themselves in someone's shoes. So for what I joined AmeriCorps for was to help at-risk youth. At risk, meaning kids that would fall through the cracks, get into a life of crime without their knowledge, when they have other options, and it's not easy. I trusted the wrong people at certain points in my life, and I had to get away from them. So I knew that I had the experience to show them you can do the same thing. You don't have to put up with this. You don't need to rely on somebody that's going to dictate your life. You can make your own path, be a good person. Don't let somebody say where you're going in life or that everything's hopeless for you because you're a minority or something like that, which is crap. Just like the word minority. You're minor. You're not major. You're nothing great. I mean, that the wording, you really gotta you gotta build self-confidence. I'm better than that. I don't know why you're telling me who I am. So, anyways, I didn't give up on my dreams because it is like a spiritual, religious type of thing for me. Like, last night I saw this girl in an alleyway with a guy and I got disgusted. I was like, you okay? But I didn't say anything. I just kept walking by. Like, hey, you're not alone. I'm going to get out of here now before something happens to me too. People did that for me. They didn't have to get paid to protect me. They didn't have to be my friend. Sometimes it helps when somebody just says, I see what's going on. You know, you're not alone. This is wrong, and you don't deserve it. And hopefully that woman walked away. Hopefully. I couldn't say anything because God knows that guy. But every day, there's always somebody in that situation. Everywhere you go, there's somebody that's being stuck somewhere. A long time ago. I'm not going to talk about it. Never mind. I'm not going to talk about that. You just never know what some people are going through. Unless you look. And listen. The way somebody wants to tell their story. I didn't feel safe talking because I knew I'd be hysterical. I would be hysterical. I had to calm down. Writing calms you down. You learn that shit in school. Form a paragraph. It's that simple. This is what's happening. You can either believe me or not. You can ignore me. You can say I'm crazy, stupid, unrealistic, whatever, delusional. I could throw it away. But I know if I can form a paragraph about, say, oh, that's a sex trafficking organization, that's a pimp, this is dangerous, and it's global. If you're going to ignore that, you're an asshole, and you're part of the problem, and you're involved, compliant with silencing the victims. You're gross, and I hate you. Thanks for nothing.